All right, thanks for coming, everyone. This is September's meetup for WordPress Naperville Meetup. Today we're talking about the query loop and post template blocks that were introduced in WordPress 5.8 in July. And these are interesting and new. And if you haven't been keeping up with every single new development in WordPress lately, and there have been a lot, this is they're fun. They're fun to play with. They may not be necessary for your site. They're kind of a it's the sort of thing that needs to be built a lot, but not necessarily the same way on everybody's site. So I'm going to start screen sharing. Can you see my screen now? That should be my, my Zoom window's moved.
You can see a Chrome browser edit page.
Okay, good. On my Zoom. So, and this is my slides, right?
Yes.
Yay.
It took me a while to unmute, sorry.
I can't see, Zoom isn't showing me what you guys can see. That's weird.
Is it because it's a whole desktop? I know when
Probably.
you share like one window, it will highlight it in green. But...
Well, I don't want to do that. Unless I can share one window at a time easily, but.
Well, we can see a couple of things now.
All right, I'll just do it like this, as long as everybody sings out if you can't see anything. Okay. I don't know how I got into edit mode. This is great. I'm glad I started recording everywhere already. What on earth is going on? I somehow got into some drawing.
Are you like
on my
in
screen.
Annotation?
Yeah, I'm in like my annotation mode. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to have my slides open here. Okay, so now I should be able to see an edit screen and slides, I think. All right. Okay, so we're talking about the query today and the query loop block from WordPress 5.8. And the query, in case you're not familiar with it, is, whoops. It's a database request that exists on every WordPress page. It's literally the PHP that builds the page, asking the database what it should display. So on some pages, it's getting the main content of a single post or page. And on other pages, it's getting a loop of them, a list of posts, such as on an archive template or on the search results. And the loop, which is the second part of the query loop, is simply WordPress going through all the posts in the list one by one and applying the same markup to each one, making the same field a link in each one, displaying the image of the same size, and so forth. So we put them together and we have what you recognize from any blog, a list of posts with image, title, excerpt, and so forth that just repeats down the page. The query, which can be written in template code if you're being really hardcore, or can be generated by WordPress automatically, or can be generated by a plugin or a builder. The query has filters for refining the results of the posts that it's getting back. You can query by author, you can query by category. That's probably the most frequent one. You can query by tag, by post type, page or post, or if you have custom post types, whatever those are. And by date, although we see that less. We can order the query results either by date, alphabetical order by title, by a lot of other parameters, basically any other parameter that we never use. You can set the number of posts that you get back from the database, and you can also paginate them, which is to say how many you see at once, and then automatically generating the links to the next page and the next page and the next page. The template, which is the part of the page, the PHP that controls the layout, is going to determine from the results that were returned, which fields are displayed and how they're formatted, which are linked, what size they are, what their font is, and everything like that. And just real briefly, if you've seen a WordPress site, you've seen a list of posts. So ones I have are just basic ones from around the internet, like a basic blog page. Again, the query is getting all the latest news from News and Blog. It tells us right at the top. And then it loops through them, showing each one in exactly the same format with exactly the same image size and metadata. A very common template we see is the automatically generated WordPress taxonomy template, which is you get all the posts from a single category or a single tag and just show them in order, most recent to oldest, with some pagination at the bottom usually, so that people don't have to look at 1,000 things at once. There's also author archives that are automatic in every WordPress site. Whenever you see an author's name attached to a WordPress blog, by default, it is linked to an automatically generated archive of all their posts. And depending on your theme or how much customization you have, you can build this out a little more and have your biography or social information about the author or more. So those are all the types of post lists that are built into, or some of the types of post lists that are built into WordPress core. But we very frequently, in fact, I think almost every site I've ever worked on, have a use case for needing a custom list of posts, which is usually shorter and usually much more specific. Most commonly, I see it on a homepage. I work a lot with nonprofits, especially ones who are doing like journalism or research in academia. And this is super common, wanting a post list that's just the last 3 posts in a certain category. And then below that, the last 3 posts in a different category. And these are all set up individually as modules or blocks within WordPress so that they display on a single page. So this page is actually, for each of these sections, doing a different query and template loop with different parameters for each one. First health and medicine, then science and technology, then campus and community. And we've all seen this on websites, and we know how useful it is to be able to build. Why do I need a custom list of posts? When do you need a custom list of posts? Ways to create. All the page builders include modules that will create a small list of posts for you and allow you to set all the parameters for filtering the posts and for displaying them in different ways. And I think this is probably the easiest way most people find to use them, because if you're used to Beaver Builder or Divi or Elementor or something like that, it just comes right along with that functionality. And typically, that is a choice you make to use a page builder. That's a choice you make when you're starting to build a site, and then it applies to the whole site. It's a huge chunk of functionality. So it's not like something you're going to just add on to a site that was already built with some other theme or method. It's built into the infrastructure of the site from when you first start creating it. Sometimes you have a site and you need to add this, small list of posts, custom list of posts, and it's already been built in some theme that you are going to keep. And so you just add a plugin. And there have always, some of the earliest plugins I think in WordPress were create these custom list of posts, create custom post queries. Category posts is the one that I am most familiar with, being oldest, and it's just a short code, and it has like 30 parameters, and there's pages and pages of documentation and all different ways you can build it out. But it basically comes down to this short code where you pass parameters to the query. One I like to use a lot is called PostGrid. It's made by the same developers as the Astra theme, and it's actually quite similar to the query loop we're going to be looking at it, and it just does this kind of very nice formatting of, you pick your category, you pick, whether you want to show the image, which taxonomy and metadata you want to show, and it just creates a nice little grid of posts from that category. So why would you want to use a query loop instead of a builder, which you might be familiar with, or a plugin, which you might be familiar with? It's a pretty limited use case, but I could see, for one thing, it's built into WordPress, so it's there anyway. You're not adding extra functionality. You're not slowing your site down that tiny bit by adding another plugin. It's already built in. It allows you a lot more flexibility in the variety of layouts you can do than most plugins do. Probably not more than a builder, but more than the plugins that I've seen do. And another thing is, if you are, this is something that's accessible to authors. You don't need to be an administrator who has the ability to install a plugin in order to have this, because it's already built into WordPress. It's something that an author or an editor of a website has access to, and it's just part of the general block page building content. So it's not separated in the way that a plugin functionality might be separated. Okay, if you're following along in the slides, at this point, I go to screenshots just in case, I've been on 2 meetings today where people dropped out because their Wi-Fi suddenly cut out because of traffic accidents. It's just weird. So if anything happens with the live demo, there's screenshots. So I'm going to start walking through the query loop block demo. Does anybody have any questions so far on any of this basic, what is a query, what is loop stuff yet? It's super basic. It's at the core of WordPress. So query loop looks like this. You start with it just by, can you see the screen correctly? Is this showing up? Great. You start just by adding it as a block. It's going to immediately, at least on my site, immediately default to being populated with some random content that I'm not sure why it chose this. Don't worry about whatever just popped up on your screen. Just keep going. What it's done is it's defaulted to carousel view. I'm sure Stacy and perhaps some other people will back me up on saying never use a carousel. They hide your content. They're bad. They're bad for accessibility. They're just bad. So we're going to look at the grid view. And what it's showing me is a bunch of different sort of templates that I can use. What do I want to do? I want to do standard. I can do small image and title. I like small image and title. I'll start with standard, but we're doing it at grid. The first, let me pop open. And when you're working with a query block, it's super handy to pop open this list view and it'll show you right away what it's done. When I picked this pattern out of that array of patterns for the query loop, it automatically created all these blocks on my page inside the query loop. So post template, query loop is what's controlling which posts are displayed. Post template is kind of a container for the post fields. And then all these fields that begin with post here are inside the query loop. So you can see post featured image, it's highlighting my featured image. Post excerpt, it's highlighting, whoops, it's highlighting my post excerpt here. You will also immediately notice that this is supposed to be a grid and there's one post showing. The number of posts is sneakily hidden right here in this weird display settings menu, far away from every other setting. And you just want to bump that up. So it'll give you a more reasonable number of items per page. Offset is if you want to skip anything, sometimes if you have 2 queries on a page, one is going to be latest news and one's going to be like something else. And you don't want to show like whatever your very latest post might be your hero image. So you want to start at post number 2, your next most recent post. So that's offset. And max page to show is if for some reason you don't want to paginate through all your archives back to whatever year your site started, you can just set a number of pages to for your pagination to include. So now I have, I'm gonna shrink this a little bit. So now I have, should be six posts showing in what is actually a grid-like pattern. And it's showing all these fields, which I have over here. And I don't like how it looks, but I'm going to change the filter. So when you select the query loop block, and it's easiest to just keep the list panel open when you're working with query loops, because the nesting can be a little confusing to try to figure out without that interface. When you have the query loop block selected, over here in the inspector pane, it's giving you the settings for the query loop. First off, what's kind of cool, it's detected all the post types that are available on my site. So I have post and page, which both come with WordPress. And then I also have person and testimonial, which come from plugins that I have installed on the site. So the query loop has detected that all these exist and it's showing them to me. Now, it hasn't detected that I actually don't have any person posts on the site. So I have to just know that, it's saying no results found. For testimonial, I have a few, not enough to, and they don't have images, so they're not really nice, but I'm going to stick with post. Columns, I can change the number of columns in my grid order, newest to oldest. That's pretty traditional. Sticky posts. I never really use those, but I'm going to include them. Down here is the good stuff. Categories. Some plugins and builders, if they're going to do a filter of a query, will show you your list of categories. So you can pick. This one isn't quite as sophisticated, but if I start typing, it'll detect my category that I'm trying to type and show it to me and let me select it. Can I make this? I'm going to make this a little smaller. Let me know if that's not working. I just don't like the way it's bunching up there.
Can you turn like full screen mode on instead of showing the WordPress Chrome or
Yeah, I guess I
the
could.
sidebar? I know I usually
I like
don't
the
like to
sidebar.
work with that.
I feel
like
so
the view
disoriented
post at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. I like my buttons. I like my black menu on the left there. Okay, but that does look nicer. Where was my, okay, I want to make sure my query loop is selected. I'm going down here. Okay, I've got my post type selected. I've got the number of columns. That's more a layout issue. I've got my category selected. My author, I'm not going to filter by author at all. I could if I wanted to. Keyword, anytime you see keyword in WordPress core in something that's not being provided to you by a plugin or your theme or a builder, it's using the same functionality that WordPress search uses. That means it's going to be looking in the title, the excerpt, and the main content body for the word that you type in. So if I type in oil, it's going to basically do a search, like a WordPress search on my content and come back with all the articles about oil. It won't recognize authors' names. It won't recognize anything that's not in title, excerpt, or content body. So it won't recognize any authors' names. It won't recognize any image captions. It won't find anything that's in any custom fields you might find. But a keyword is handy in as another kind of filter. And you'll notice there's no filters here for custom fields. If you are dealing with a very sophisticated query builder or writing it yourself in a WordPress template, you can filter by custom fields, but not here. Do you have a question, Trish? Are you can...
Yes, I do. That's why I raised my hand.
Sorry, I can only see like 3 people. Again, because
that's okay.
Here we go. Now I can see everyone.
Does it distinguish the difference between if you put like oil for your keyword, or you've got some posts that have like soil? Will it catch those, or does it delineate that is just one word?
It's going to insert white spaces on each side of whatever you type in. So it treats it as a single word. It's not going to treat it as part of a word. I think even if it's something that was hyphenated, it would not find it. It would not find the hyphenated form. It's because it's going to basically look for a single word that matches what you type into keyword. It's not going to do partial matches at all. Okay, I can see everyone now. So if anybody else has a question, raise your hand. Okay, so now I have, let me back out my keywords so I have more. So I have my environment posts here. Okay, so now I have the set of content that I want displaying in my query loop, but I don't necessarily like the arrangement here. This looks stupid, I think. So what's cool about this is if I have list view open, I'm editing the entire query loop now. I'm not editing the content on the page. So each of these kind of represents all instances of its field in the query loop. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So I've selected post featured image in the list view, and I'm going to hit this move up, and you'll notice that all the post featured images move up. So I can rearrange my entire layout just by moving around these fields in the left here. Similarly, I don't like date being down there. I'm going to bump that up a little bit here. I don't want to show the excerpt at all, so I'm going to let it highlight excerpt for me. There's excerpt. I'm going to just remove the block, and it applies it to everything inside the query loop. So it's generating a little template for me on the fly. And I'm going to take out the separator too, because that looks kind of dumb. And then if I view my page, okay, that looks very sad in terms of spacing, but I can work on that. Maybe because it's jammed together. I made one earlier today that looked really nice. And now, of course, because it's the live demo, it's not doing that. But anything that you can, I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of settings that are configurable for each of these individual elements within the query loop. So if I go down to post featured image, I can't do, if you're in a single page, you can apply filters and gradients and different sizes to the featured image. You can't do that here, but you can turn off whether or not it's a link. Title, you can do more with the typography here. You can change your font size. You can determine whether or not you want the title to be a link. You can change colors for the title, and for dates, you have some control over the formatting, whether or not it's a link, and typography and basic elements like that. But you can't do some of the really cool image tricks here that apply to and make them apply to every image in the loop. If you'll notice there is no pagination down here, I believe. Oh, I should show you this other thing first. If I want to add a field, now I've taken all these fields out. I've only got image, title, and date showing. If I want to add a field back, I'm going to find one of the usual add blocks plus signs at the bottom of one of my posts in the loop. And I type post, any block that has the word post in it, post title, post featured image, post date, post content, post excerpt, can be added to a loop in this matter. Not posts list, it's posts plural. Posts list, weirdly, is the exact same thing as query loop. Why do they have it, give it two names and put them both in the block list? Probably because, you know, query loop is confusing and technical, and posts list is literally a list of posts that makes more sense to people. So I'm sorry I used the more technical name for this presentation. It is a posts list. As I was saying, any of these fields that has post in front of it can be added to either post list or a query loop. So I can add my excerpt back in if I want. And unfortunately, you can't make different read more text, but for each one, but you can type click here and it'll show up for all of them. I'm not sure why my spacing is so abysmal on this right now, but I did make a post earlier today that I did the exact same process and it turned out with lovely spacing. Nope, I lied. I must have done something to my to my theme or changed settings somewhere. Maybe I have my weird. My spacing is bad in this. Anyone have any questions on this basic query loop here? If you follow the trick of popping the list view open and just using that to select your fields inside the loop, you'll be able to get it once you played with it a little bit. If you're just clicking around in here, it's going to be confusing. So use the list view. I am going to clear this one out, remove this and start over and show you an example of building from scratch. You saw when I clicked, when I first, let me remove this and start over. So query loop, there's the carousel, there's the grid, there's also the start blank version or option over here. So I'm going to start blank. And it's like, you don't really want to start blank. Here's some ideas for what you could do. Like, okay, title and excerpt. So it started me over again with a title and excerpt shown in a loop. And again, the query is the default query. This right here, inherit query from template, it won't do anything on this page. But if you were, you know how if you're in settings reading on your admin panel and you can assign a certain page to be your blog page and all your blog posts will automatically show up there. If the page that you're on already has like a WordPress query assigned to it, like a search, like the search page, basically, you could turn this on and you could use this query loop to format your search results. I haven't figured out how to make it do that for category template or anything like that, because normally you don't have a page that you have assigned to a category. But for WordPress, for the main blog page, which has a literal page that you create and assign in the settings, you could inherit that query. Okay, let me go back to categories and switch it to environment. Okay, so I've got post title and exit over here. I've got post template. I want to display, I did a query grid and it turned out with bad spacing, but I know that if I use columns, I can control the spacing. So I'm gonna go inside my query loop, and it doesn't matter where you pick, just pick anywhere and add a block, and I'm gonna add columns. And I'm gonna go with 50-50 is nice. So right now I have this, you can see in my list view, I have columns. There's nothing inside it, and they're kind of in the wrong place in my template. There's nothing inside them. They're not looping right. So just as if this was a regular column block, I'm going to add stuff in here. And once again, I can, any field that has, any block that has the word post in it, I can add inside this loop. So I'm going to add a title in my column. That's the wrong place. I don't want my title to be there. I want my title to be over here. And my title here, this, I'm going to remove block from inside the column, and I'm going to add post featured image here. So now I've got my featured image on the left. I've got my title here, and I'm going to add, I'm still in the list view. According to the list view, I know that I'm in my column still. So I'm going to add my post date underneath. So now I have columns that have on the left a featured image and on the right the title and the date. Looks a little wonky though, because I've still got these extra fields, but I'm just going to delete those. There's probably I haven't actually found a way in blocks to sort of move things from inside a container to a parent level. So just copying and pasting is your friend. So I'm going to remove these two that are at the wrong level. And that should give me, how many am I looking at? Let me check my query loop. 3, let's go with 6. So that should give me a nice column layout, which if you are like me and you are terrible at spacing and CSS, columns are a nice, easy way to make things line up neatly. So that's, I didn't make any of the fields links. That's an important note. Oh, that's interesting. Do I not have the ability to make them links? Huh, that's really interesting. I didn't realize that. Now that it's inside columns, here we go, make title a link. I had to click on post title there. I can make title a link there. Link to post, there we go. Now these things are links. So that's columns, because they're basically a container which holds other blocks, can be used inside a query loop. There's if you have a plugin that provides you blocks, some of them can be used inside a query loop and some can't. Like this site has a block library called Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg, and I can they have a block called section that just groups things together. I could have my loop repeating sections. I haven't found too many. It kind of depends on how the block behaves, whether it's designed to contain things, whether it's designed to display them in a more like one-off way. But you can play around with the query loop and see what elements you have on your site already that can be used as blocks within the query loop. Does anybody have any questions on this? I'm going through this pretty fast, but everything is working. I didn't expect it to. In terms of performance, so I have 2 pages. Let me go to my dashboard. Where's my pages? So I have my query loop block grid of 6, and I made the same thing with Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg, which is, see, this one has nice spacing. I don't know why. Oh, this is Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg. So this is a block provided by a plugin that basically does the same thing as query loop with slightly different filters. fewer options for rearranging. It always has image, title, metadata, excerpt, and all you can do is turn them on or off. You can't actually change the order. But it's pretty heavy in terms of query speed and layout. So I use that as my comparison for performance as opposed to the query loop. So I ran it through I ran this page and this page. No, not you. This page, which are basically the same thing through page speed insights. And there's a slight difference. The WordPress core query loop block came back at 81 mobile, 96 desktop with 3.2 seconds times interactive. And the ultimate add-on for Gutenberg's is about 10% slower, 73% mobile, 91% desktop, actually over a second longer in time to interactive. So I wouldn't say a crushingly great improvement in performance, but something. And both of these are using your themes styles they're inheriting your theme styles for headers and certain parts of the layout. And, the rest of the page is still, the header and footer and everything is still coming from the rest of your site. So the difference between the two is probably just in the way the layout is being processed, because the query is pretty much the same. So maybe it's just the fact that it didn't have to load a plugin that made it a little faster in the WordPress version. Anyway, if you need a custom list of posts and you don't want to install a plugin and you're comfortable messing around with a query loop, you can at least be confident that it's not going to be a performance issue for your site. It seems like it's pretty fast. Anybody got any questions? I blazed right through that. That's the whole presentation. That's query loops. I can play around with it more if you want, or
Claire, I had commented there's no click or drag of the blocks. So when you were setting up the layout of everything, yeah, you can't click and drag within the WYSIWYG or within the list view.
no,
There's no way to rearrange that.
no,
way.
that's a good point, because if you were doing this outside a loop, you could, let me make sure I'm like way down below here. So if I add something here, this is a paragraph that's outside the query loop. So this has its grabby handles for dragging, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I can, but inside, no, I can't reposition things here by clicking and dragging, because it's kind of, oh, I can, look at that.
Yeah.
Sweet. Look what we
What do you
learned.
know? What do you know?
You
Yeah.
can't click and drag from the add menu. You have to just add it.
Well, now I'm curious. I changed that one, but not this one. But how does it, so
Wow.
how's it going to even apply that? I bet that confused it. Because it didn't change it everywhere like it does if I.
Sometimes you
move
can
things
click and
around.
drag within the list view.
No, it changed it. It did change it everywhere. Yeah, it
Okay.
changed it. When I did that, it changed it in the list view. And that
Okay.
changed it everywhere. So if I drag
it's
you
part of the
back,
loop. Right.
yeah, because whatever you change
go.
inside one of these should be applied to the entire loop. So it should automatically show up for all of them. And I think it did. Yeah, that was a good question. Something I didn't know.
Sweet.
Yay.
It drives
Okay.
me crazy though that if you add ultimate add-ons for Gutenberg section, you can't drag anything into it until you have something in it. So if you then have to go and add a paragraph with one character so that there's something in a section. So try to
Didn't
add
know that.
that paragraph, try to drag it to the section.
Well, I just assumed you could never drag anything anywhere into a section.
You can.
So if I put something, so if I put a
Just
paragraph in
type,
here.
yep, just that's enough. Now you can drag text here into the.
Oh,
It drives me bonkers.
oh, that's
Oh,
interesting.
that's weird. Yeah.
I had because I've tried to do that, dozens of times, and it never worked. And I didn't realize that there had to be something in there already. What I thought
I
would
don't
be-
know if
Sorry, go
there does. It's the only way I can get it to work.
No, I think you're right. What I thought would be super cool is if you had if you could make your featured image a background image, like you can set it a background image for a section, and then maybe you could have your featured image and then have the title and date, you know, over
What
the
are the
featured
image
image.
options for post featured image?
Not many, unfortunately. Just, you can't change the
Oh,
size. You
no,
can't really
over
do
to the
anything to
left.
it.
Like there's only alignment. Like if you, I can't draw on your screen. I don't think I have annotation tools.
Oh, maybe I can make you co-host or something with that. Change it, allow.
I think
putting
we have
lighting
to have
row.
the app installed.
Okay.
Anyhow, so okay, above the image there, you have a little toolbar. If you
Yes.
click on the alignment, it's only alignment.
Yeah.
Okay, because sometimes it'll be like, or if you click on the little image, click on the image next to the draggy thingies. Sometimes it gives you like, oh, convert this to cover, but I guess that's
Yeah.
not an option.
And sometimes over here you have like cool gradients and stuff, but not inside
Yeah.
a query loop.
Okay.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe there certainly seem to be moving that way.
Couldn't you create a CSS to target those featured images to
something like
put a
that.
gradient on top of it?
Absolutely, you could. Yeah, this is this demo is me with my no CSS skills. So this is true to my real life.
Okay.
Plus,
I mean,
we
you
have to be
could, yeah,
careful.
it's outputting perfectly ordinary HTML. And you do have everywhere, sorry, I should say, right here, you always have this advanced thing where you can add classes. So
Yeah.
if you were the type of person who can do that, you can do whatever you want in your child theme or in your customizer and add your CSS there. But yeah, not too many
So this-
settings right now.
Is this whole functionality is new with the new WordPress that just came out?
From July 5.8. I Googled a bit and saw that people were talking about it a lot earlier, but I first noticed it in 5.8.
I first
and-
noticed it today. So,
Ta-da!
yeah, weird.
Me too.
Yeah, I like it because it picks up the styles from your theme so well. I have a good part of my workload is maintaining old WordPress sites that other people built. And sometimes they need new features, like we have a new landing page and we need to show the 3 latest posts from whatever on it. And then I have to go find a plugin and make it do the list. And then the plugin has its own style and I need to go find someone to help me set the CSS. So I like this because it's so cleanly integrated with what already exists on the WordPress site that if I need to, throw together a few little queries on a page, I can just do that. But yeah, if you're used to working in Divi or something like that, this is going to have 0 value add for you. This is not useful, but
Good to know, though. I mean, I don't ever work in Gutenberg, and it kind of scares me because it is starting to finally evolve into something. And I feel like, I wonder if I should just have a little play site to just get my skills going on this. Working with Beaver Builder.
Yeah, I spent 2 weeks learning it. I basically was like, these 2 weeks, I'm going to learn how to do blocks. And yeah, I felt like I got a pretty good handle on it. There's just so many though. And then there's block patterns now. And they keep changing how reusable blocks work. And everything has the name either block or template or post on it. So there's
So it's hard to search.
so it's also hard to understand if this is like something you've seen before and just didn't know they were calling it like post block template, or if it's a new thing. Like I can't remember what those are called, but the way that you define what blocks automatically show up on a page, that's cool. Block patterns, I think.
Query, no, template. No, block patterns are
Block
like
patterns are
what
different.
reusable blocks were, but that wasn't that post template pattern or something.
It might be. It's like the same. It's like Taco Bell. It's like the same 3 words in a different order, and and it's a different feature. So there's a way that you can add code to your child's theme. Like I'm doing it on a site now where it's the page is a person, and we always want to have their social media links show up at the very top. So when you open the page, it automatically has that block already there with the social media links there, just waiting to be clicked on. So the editors don't have to, worry about where the block is or forget it or whatever. Yeah, they're definitely going more towards a lot of complexity, and they call it what, full site editing, where everything's going to be your header, your footer, your widgets, and everything are all going to be editable in the same way with blocks. I haven't gotten into that yet,
I
but
love
blocks and content, I can do it.
Widgets in the customizer are really nice.
I find those confusing. Okay, if nobody else has any questions about query loops, let's go look at widgets in the customizer.
Yeah, that one kind of threw me when those just appeared. I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's, for me, that's the thing I saw today that I went, what?
It's
Wait,
being
here we go.
thrust upon me, whether I want it or not.
Yep.
It's just a more
There we are.
obvious way of editing those, because there's a pencil icon when you're in the customizer. So for a client to want to edit one of the widget areas, they can open the customizer and
We
click
don't have
the
widgets.
pencil icon.
We're on my own crappy site, so I don't have any
You,
widgets
look
here.
at you. You're a flower among flowers.
I like what I like about my website. It is it's very honest about my design level. It's like, if you hire me, you know what you're getting. It works, and this is about as much as I can design things. Okay, so we need a site that has widgets. I'm perfectly happy to just abandon query loops and move into a more discussion and demo part of the evening. Stacy, do you want to show us what you like about the widgets? 'Cause
Do I have a site that I can?
I'm super confused by them.
I feel like I can't show the site that you and I are currently working on yet.
Yeah.
Let me
Okay.
see if I have something else. Dev site that seems suspicious. I lost all of you guys in Zoom because it goes full screen
is
without my
confusing.
permission. Exit full screen. Okay, let me spin up. Give me a minute. You guys can chat. I'm gonna spin
Yeah.
up a new, or unless you want me to show you the whole thing.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me know when you're ready to share. We're just doing casual discussion now. So if anyone has any questions or anything,
There's
or
a couple
any ideas,
questions
yeah, what's up?
in the chat.
Oh my gosh, where's my chat? Zoom. Oh my God, there's like 9 questions in the chat. I'm so sorry. Can this link to external items like frames? Can this link to external items like frames? Mark, can you explain what you mean by that? I'm not sure what
I mean, embedding.
like frames. Oh, okay, sorry. If you could explain in chat, I'm looking at chat now so I can see what you say. Can it link to external items like frames? The query can only query the database of the site that it's on. It can't use external content at all. So it really only has the ability to look at what you see in these filters here.
Oh, link to external items as in with frames. I think that's what.
Using a widget that pulls Google Calendar data and puts it in an iframe. Yeah, because that wouldn't be in the database. This can only work directly. This query can only go directly to the WordPress database. So it wouldn't be able to integrate any third-party stuff unless you were using that widget and it was inside the body of a post. So what you would actually be querying for would be the content of the post, and then it would bring in the widget there. So probably if you did, you'd have to play with it a bit, but if you had your widget and it's like a shortcode or something that embeds that HTML in the content, perhaps that might work. I kind of want to try that now. So what you would do would be you would put your widget in your content, and then you would wherever you want your content to display, select your post content. No, where are we? And then it's just showing literally the text from the post. But if that text from the post included an iframe, then it would appear here. Does that answer your question?
Oh, that would work.
Yeah. Excerpt, it probably, if you put the widget in the excerpt, that doesn't work because usually excerpt, and it might not even work here because sometimes it's picking up links. Sometimes they process the HTML if they're showing it in a loop like this, but this looks like it's picking up links, so it might pick up the HTML for an iframe too. But if your widget was in the excerpt, it probably would not work.
Okay.
Ooh.
Sure. No.
Don't know, couldn't have no iframes, no ability to create query box, putting emojis in the post because it's just, wow. That sounds like a hassle, Mark. Sometimes all you can do is just dedicate a couple hours to, playing with it and clicking every button and seeing if that worked, or, the old Google foo.
I think I'd try and find someone else to work on that site. Who can I pawn that one off on?
You're not cool. I'm like websites are like puppies for me. If I see a site that needs, care and attention, I'm like, oh, I'll fix you, little site.
It's
So I just have to be very picky as to who the clients are.
they got to be nice clients. too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, if I have a mean client, it's a bad scene because I still feel bad for their site, even if they're terrible.
It's like the ASPCA of websites.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
Please
Water,
save you
you'll
from
be
your own
Claire,
water.
the web rescuer.
That's awesome. That's a good title.
Beer or not? Yeah, that's a
Web
great title.
rescuer.
Okay, Claire, I have a local site set up if we
All
want to look
right.
at this.
I'm gonna, let me see, make you the co-host. Let me know if you can share screen.
I can.
That I'm gonna stop my share.
It stops you when yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna be looking at the new way widgets work, which is great because I don't understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have Astra set up and a child theme activated here, just so you know what's happening. Because I think there are some things that are specific to Astra. So we're gonna go and try to customize it and find out which of those things are specific. They have this cool header builder thingy that will show up what's happening in the header here. So right now you can see if I roll over it, I have a little icon to edit the logo, and that will
that's
take me
cool.
basically in here. And this is the primary menu, which if I select it, then I get, I can select which menu, if I have created several menus, I can choose that right from the customizer. Let me go back to, the main sidebar, but I think the footer has been really handy as well, but that's their footer builder. But if I had a theme with a footer widget area, this would be kind of like the same thing. Now Astra has a few of these like icons to edit the settings. However, if I go to, I think widgets. Oh, right now this is only showing me the main sidebar. Okay, hang on a second. Let's go to the footer builder. If you have widget areas, then you hit the plus button and select which type of widget you want in there. I'm going to just say like this WordPress 1 widget. Right now, I don't even know what that is. Got it. Oh, I can add Gutenberg blocks or the WP Block Editor blocks or whatever. So if I want to put an image there, I can do that. I should have chose a different one. Let me see all my Let's see, what's a safe image? Here's my kids. Yeah. I mean, they're all safe, but some are more dorky than others. All right. So I can add an image there if I want in the footer. Not that people do that often. You mostly will see like a footer menu and they'll be like about, contact, or whatever. Now I can't select a menu because I don't actually have a menu. And I should remind you all that I did not prepare for a demo.
Oh,
Widget
yeah, sorry.
2,
put
I'm
you
gonna
on the
go
spot.
and, oh no, it's fine. It's fun to like mess around and break things. I can also put a post list here or a tag cloud. Why is that still here? What do we want? Let's choose.
Old
let's
things
just
die
search.
hard.
So now we have a little search there. And if I click on the little gear, you know, I can have placeholder text if I want. I can add more blocks if I want. I can do the same types of things that I could in any other WordPress block. Now, if I want to go back to the gear icon here, again, this is more Astra, I believe, because it's the footer builder. But it does show you how like kind of cool widgets can be. I can select which layout that I want. I want a big space for my search, or I can click and drag widgets if I'm like, you know what, the menu should be on the left, and oh, I actually don't want that, you know, or I want the copyright up here. It's just kind of nice to be able to see it on the front end, because before you always had this like weird, mysterious screen where you dragged widget titles around and you don't actually know what's happening. So this is kind of cool. Now I'm just going to get out of here and I'm going to activate 2021 to see what part of that was Astra and what part of that is the theme. What can we do with out of the box stuff? All right, this will give me that menu screen. Yeah. Let's go to the footer though. So if I click on, so yeah, the footer builder part, that's definitely an Astra thing, but still I can customize some of these widget areas if I want to add
Wait.
one.
How did you get to footer from, you just clicked widgets and it got you to footer?
Well, I clicked probably one of these pencil icons.
Okay,
and
so it knew.
pulled
that's
up
what you
the
wanted.
footer because it knew where it was. So if I want to add like an about paragraph or something, I can do that here, and about us paragraph. So basically your theme has to have widget areas to be able to put stuff in, for it to even, for you to be able to add a box and have it show up somewhere. But when it does, I mean, it's a much nicer interface just using, you know, the block editor than on the back end, I think, because you can see what you are doing as opposed to guessing that you're adding where's the like category stuff. Categories. Oh, well, I guess it's already there. I only have
So-
one post.
The old widget screen is gone, but you can install a classic widgets plugin if you want it back.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't know that.
gone. It's gone. At least I think
No,
it was
it's
still
right
there in
here.
5 point.
No.
It's not.
No, that's what I see.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
okay.
I think
You're
it's
talking about like the super old.
Oh, it's like
Drag and drop.
you know, May.
This is weird.
I mean, it was there last time I looked. I don't know how
But this is
it would have been. This
wait,
is all
so
new
widgets
to me.
and it puts me in the footer. So is the only widget area in this theme a footer? Oh wait, no, I just had that expanded. This is kind of weird because
Right?
my
Yeah.
widgets won't show up vertically. I mean, maybe if I get small enough, but the text is huge.
Yeah, that's weird to me.
So if I put something here, where is this inactive widget show up? Is my only widget area the footer in 2020? 21 or whatever this theme is. I can drag it. And then let's say, okay, so yeah, my uncategorized is there. Huh. Interesting. And usually I have, well, I don't know usually. See, I always get like a little confused between what's WordPress and what's the theme doing that's special.
Yeah.
Like in Astra, the theme we often use, there's a little like small phone and then a tablet and then a desktop icon over here for some of these to like look at it on all three sizes. But I guess that is that really Astra? I thought that was in the customizer for like everything.
It's Astra.
Huh.
Oh, I thought it was too, in the customizer though.
Well, and now widgets
Wow.
are blocks. Like if you have a widget area, you can just put blocks in it. I don't think there's a distinction anymore between the types of things that are widgets and the types of things that are content.
It's
I think
just a block, right?
It's all the same, which is nice because you always needed to, you know, as far as the user is
Yeah.
concerned, it's not like it's a
So,
completely
these
different type of
icons,
content.
I mean,
Yeah.
so on that page, it looked kind of like, oh no, it looked like none of these on that last page. Because this categories text was huge. I don't know what that widgets page is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I like it. I don't get it.
Why is Astra option still here after I've deactivated it?
You might have the plugin, Astra Pro plugin.
Do I? Oh, wait. No. Why is this not? Oh, I switched to a different, I'm on the different screen that you can't see. Yeah, no, I shouldn't work with computers. No, this is a clean install. I just got this up and running right away.
Weird.
Yeah, that is. Oh, okay, yeah. That's because I was on a different window. That's why I saw those. Never mind, sorry.
So it's different whether you go into widgets or whether you go into customize and footer.
I mean, it looks quite different. So I just activated the Astra child theme again. And here, I mean, the difference here is if you do widgets on this screen, I think it's even more confusing, maybe just because I was so used to the old one.
Yeah.
But this is showing me sidebar. Okay, that might make sense because everything is stacked. But on my footer, I guess it's not showing me anything here because I don't have any. But that last site was showing me what will be not stacked, but in a stacked space. And it doesn't have to because there's plenty of space available in this canvas area. That was kind of weird to me. But it is just all a block. Like widgets are just a canvas for whatever WordPress block that can go in a widget. I wonder, are those all the same? Or are there some blocks that you can't put in widgets?
I haven't looked at the list. I saw the basics, but yeah, that would be a good question. There's certainly some blocks you shouldn't put in widgets. But it looks
Like
it's
queries.
a big list.
Legacy widget. Oh yeah, that stuff. Yeah, that went away right away anytime I started a new site. Good thing it's legacy. Yeah, cool. I'm trying to get block patterns to work. So if anyone has any tips on getting a block pattern to work without a plugin, is that something you can do right now? I've had like no luck in getting
I
it
did
to show
that.
up.
I don't remember how they work. But I'm gonna chat a link. I did one. and got it to work. And now I've absolutely forgotten how I got that to work.
I'm gonna throw this in the functions file. You're telling me a link of an article
It's
in Zoom or Slack?
and it's in Zoom, and it's block patterns. Don't you just copy paste them?
Yeah. I mean, but I think I did that part right. I don't think either I didn't call it the way it wanted it to. I even like escaped everything. I lost chat because I'm sharing. Oh, here it is.
So yeah, block patterns are neat because they are prepackaged. And there's that gonna chat it. There's a link on that page to the WordPress block pattern resource list, which has there's basically a directory of block patterns. You could just grab their design and use them in your own site.
But then you paste it as a block, but that's not necessarily a reusable block pattern, right? Like, okay, here.
You would have
there
to.
There's no block patterns here. There's no reusable, there's no nothing, otherwise it would show up, right? Let me go to pages.
I guess I'm confused about what you call a block pattern and what.
So here, patterns, this thing. So this would be a block pattern that if I click it, it will always show up here, right?
Yeah.
And you could see this from one of those websites and go and copy it. And then you could go and say, just right where I am and say paste, right? It pastes the whole pattern, but you would always have to copy it first. So like, for instance, on this website we're working on recently, that I always want a section and I always want a paragraph inside of it. And I want to save that because I have all these settings on the section that does the spacing. So like, you know, full width, but then at this size it's 20 pixels or like 2 rounds or whatever. And with a specific class name on it. I want to copy all of those settings and put them in a block pattern so that when you go and add a new section, you can do this, you can do patterns, you can go boom, and then you have the section you're ready to type, as opposed to like, oh, what page is that pattern on, to go and then copy it and then paste it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
It
I
almost
can't
sounds
remember.
like a template piece.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called because it sounds like you should call those block patterns, but they're different from the block patterns that you can copy and paste from the WordPress block pattern library.
Because I mean,
it's a different thing.
I can keep copying and pasting over and over again, but I wonder if I wanted to change that class name, that probably doesn't update the block pattern. That only updates if it were like a reusable block. And a reusable block, I believe you can't edit the content. It's just like an exact replica.
Right.
But a block pattern, you can edit the content. I just don't know if that the code within there is actually linked and would update if you changed anything. I think not, but I could be wrong on that.
Sounds like an excellent topic for another presentation in a month or so.
Michelle talked about it, but I think she was also using a plugin at some point to register it.
There's plugins that register block patterns, yeah.
Because I tried a few of them. One of them added a bunch of Mandarin categories to the drop-down list. And I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. So I uninstalled that because I can't read Mandarin. And then another one didn't work at all. So I'm like, okay. And then again, I'm wondering if it's the developer or if it's one of the like themes or the plugins that's having like a conflict, or if this is like, I'm trying to like Google resources and I don't see a lot, and the ones I do see things have changed in the WordPress Block API. Let's see here. If I so this is from forever ago. Patterns. Patterns are a collection of blocks organized around, they make up common patterns, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, that's not what we're talking about. And I feel like this layouts thing is sort of similar. Yeah, no, this is old.
I think there's 2 or 3 things in WordPress that have very similar names and behave slightly differently.
That's
They're
unfortunate.
confusing. Yeah,
It's like head and header. Don't do that.
yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, this is what I was doing. I tried it in a plugin and I tried it without. The only 2 things that are needed are this content and the title.
Huh.
And the content needs to be escaped like that. And I did that. Refer to the block pattern segmentation. Let's look at that.
I've gotten that to
And
work
I
recently.
open that
I can
here.
take a look if
Yes.
you want.
Yes, that would be cool because I couldn't get it to show up. I see all the ultimate add-on for Gutenberg block patterns, I think. Let me see. Actually, no, they might be just default WordPress because what theme do I have access right now? Patterns. Yeah, they're default WordPress. All these, are these default WordPress or are these Astra?
Which ones?
I think those are WordPress,
Okay, so these are familiar to
I think.
Yeah, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get anything to add to either an existing category or a new category that I tried to.
Weird.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'm gonna stop sharing
Okay.
if I can find it.
I've got the code for a block pattern I got to work. It's a very simple one. It's just sticking. Yeah, it's just sticking a block in a page. It probably works because it is so basic, because I didn't try to do any of the stuff like I was adding, where you were adding different parts of the content. It's working, might not be working right. Well, does anyone have any requests for topics to discuss or explore in the future?
Block patterns.
Block patterns, the other block patterns, and whatever that other kind of block pattern is.
Yeah.
What are
like
Yeah,
they?
definition of block
WordPress
patterns.
vocabulary.
How
Yes.
do they work? What are they? How are they different from the other block patterns?
Patterns versus templates.
Yeah. I feel like all these like newer things in WordPress that like I've been waiting for them to either like be super mainstream or like well established, I've kind of ignored. So it might be good to do an overview of like what are all those features in this latest like update. So like the
There's
one
like,
you showed today is super new to me, but you said it's been out since June. It's cool.
July, yeah. Well, yeah, and the block patterns have been around longer than that, but they're not, so easy to pick up that you can just like click on them and randomly figure out how they work. Yeah, we can definitely do an exploration of block patterns and templates and layouts and how, which ones are which.
Yeah.
How they all work. I'm gonna stop recording. I should have stopped sometime. Oh.
It's like when we did the member